Jai Gurudev. Jai Masters. You'll find, as you grow spiritually, that the word conditional and unconditional, these are very, very powerful terms and very powerful differences, and they are the essence of spirituality and the essence of worldliness, of being caught. There's conditional love, there's unconditional love. There's conditional peace, there's unconditional peace. There is conditional gratitude and unconditional gratitude. We'll talk about that one, but it covers for all of them. And to paint an ugly picture of conditional gratitude. You have a child, they're in their terrible 2s or 3s, and they're prone to tantrums. But this kid's not stupid. If you get this child what they want, when they throw that tantrum, you're going to see some serious gratitude from that kid. They studied Maslow, conditioned response. Okay, they realize that if they just shower you with praise and love and gratitude when you give them what they want, you can do it again. But if you don't give them what they want, there's no gratitude for anything. There's just trouble. And even if you give them what you think they should want or might want or what is best for them, there's no gratitude. That's conditional gratitude. What's it conditioned upon? Me. I decide what it is that I want. I decide what it is I should get, me being the child. And if I get it, of course I feel tremendous gratitude. There's no question about it. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. I wasn't happy. I didn't feel comfortable. It was disturbing to me not to have this toy, not to have this situation, not to have this whatever. And of course I feel grateful. Of course I do. But if anything else happens, I don't feel any gratitude at all, to say the least. Maybe I even feel angry and upset. Unconditional gratitude is that you're grateful for everything, unconditionally. Now, you say, well, how could you be grateful for everything? You didn't want it. That's what you're grateful for, that you're not separating what you want from what you don't want. And then one of the deepest spiritual writings ever written, the treatise on faith mind by the third Zen patriarch, you maybe have heard of it. It's the one that starts, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences." He goes on to say that to set aside what you like from what you dislike is a disease of the mind. If you wish to see the truth, hold no opinions for or against anything. Now that's deep Zen. It's non-duality. It's deep non-dualist teachings. But it doesn't have to be mystical. What you understand is that conditional means I have decided within myself what I want and what I don't want. All right? To set aside what you like from what you dislike is the disease of the mind. Isn't it? Okay? That's something you're making up in your mind. How do you know what you like or what you don't like? Your mind told you. You look at something, oh, I like that sweatshirt. Oh, I like that university. I don't like that university. What the heck is that? Your mind makes things up. Do you understand that? Do not ever for one moment think you decided what you like and you decided what you don't like. There's no condition in which you did that. There's no condition in which you decided freely what you like and what you don't like. What happens is I look out there and I see something, and I've had experiences in the past just like you have. And those experiences are stored inside of me. And if I knew someone who had that little motto, "Now is the best moment of my life," and a bumper sticker on their car, and now she's wearing it on her sweatshirt, I like her. If I liked the person who had it on the bumper sticker. If that person that had it on the bumper sticker was my ex, and I used to think it was neat, and now that's not the best moment of my life because you made sure it wasn't, then when I see that in that sweatshirt, I don't like the sweatshirt, and I may not even like her. I did not decide that. It was decided for me by the impressions that got made in my past. It's just like a computer. Your mind is like a computer. A computer, I know a lot about computers, all right? A computer, believe it or not, is really, really dumb until it has data. And then it's really good at manipulating the data. all right? But it's only as smart as its data, okay? That's all. You can give me the smartest computer that ever was, some cray computer, and I'll give you some junky data that I made up, and then you go run any program you want, and I will tell you what it's going to say, because it's going to say it based on the data. Well, you are exactly the same. Your mind is exactly the same. You have data. What? The experience that you've had. You saw a sweatshirt. You met somebody named so-and-so. Your hair used to be a certain way. Now it's another way. You liked it better the other way. So you're jealous of people. Okay, it's not hard to see. The mind does this. The mind holds on to the past experiences. It labels them as positive or negative based upon how they hit you at the time. And at the time may have been when you were 5, by the way. You literally make decisions in business and relationships based upon something that hit your mind a certain way when you were 10 years old. I don't want to go out with him. What's his name? Ben. No. I had my first boyfriend in 6th grade was named Ben. I've had enough Bens for a lifetime. And it says that, and it actually thinks it's reasonable. It literally says, okay, well, that's that. I'm not going out. So you've had past experiences. Of course you have. That's what it means to be alive. The world unfolds. It comes in through your senses, and it makes an impression. Okay? And it either makes a good or a bad impression. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But the point is, it does that. Those things don't just sit idly by. That which made a good impression, if anything associates with it even roughly, all right, will bring back up that good impression, and you will be looking at it through rose-colored glasses or a rose-colored impressions glasses. And all of a sudden, you will tend to like it. Right? Love at first sight is not love at first sight. It is love at first sight, but it's not as magical as you think it is. All right? There's something about that situation that hits something inside of you. What if all your good stuff got hit by meeting somebody? They had the right glasses on, and they said the right thing, and they were shot. They had the right thing in their shopping cart. It was all vegan. Oh, my God, unbelievable. It was exactly the stuff you like. And you just completely related to that as the positive experience you've had in the past. Of course you're going to fall in love. Of course you're going to feel open. Of course you're going to feel responsive. And I should have started asking you a question. If you get what you really like, do you feel happy or sad? There it was, a bunch of stuff you really like. So you feel really happy. Really happy means love. It's not chemistry. It's computer science. It's basically you have these impressions that are inside of you. If they had one thing in that cart that somebody told you, whatever you don't, that's disgusting, that stuff. Anybody would buy that stuff, you would be turned off by them. And if they didn't have that in the cart, you'd fall in love with them. You know how I know it's true? Because they don't have it in the cart the first time you see them, and you fall in love with them. You tell everybody they're your soulmate. Oh, my God, it was amazing. It was one of those things. I just bumped into him at a supermarket and all this stuff. We're going out tomorrow night, right? And my favorite is he shows up in a bow tie. Now, he wasn't wearing a bow tie in the supermarket. He was jeans and this and that. And you're not a bow tie type girl, all right? It's just this is not what it was. Uncle George had bow ties and he used to pinch your cheek, and it was really a drag. And I'm telling you, this guy shows up with a bow tie, you ain't going out with him. Am I exaggerating one iota? You are not making these decisions for yourself. You are programmed by your past experience. You're not programmed. Your mind is programmed by your past experiences. To set aside what you like from what you dislike is the disease of the mind. I mean, that's one of the deepest writings ever written. It's total non-dualist, right? You get it, don't you? It's not so complicated. So basically, these decisions are being made by your mind. So that when something unfolds outside and you feel good about it, it's not really because of the thing. If that thing happened 1 hour later and you had an experience during that hour, you might hate the thing. And if you didn't have one experience, you love it. Okay? Go fall madly in love with it. Oh, my God. Go on 16 dates. Everything's just unbelievable. And they get a call from a friend of yours from 15, 20 years ago when you were in high school and mention that, oh, you met this girl. Sally? Sally Wilson? Does Sally Wilson, did she live down? Are you kidding me? You better start calling some people and see what she did to them. That's it. That's it. You understand that? Now, he won't even tell you what she did to them. Okay? But that's all that has to get in that mind. And next time you call Sally, you are not as open as you were before that phone call. That is so important to look at. So basically, you are conditioned by your past experiences. And so therefore you decide, I like certain things and I don't like certain things. And if the world unfolds in a way that you like, you get all excited and you feel gratitude. You say, here's the extreme, then I'll move on. Something you really wanted, you always wanted it. Since you were little and you never told anybody you really wanted it, and you're going about your business, you're going through a store, and all of a sudden, totally, and you're in North Carolina somewhere, not even at home, and you're going through, happen to stop at this store, all right, to get a drink, soda or something, and you look at, and all of a sudden, this thing that you've always wanted, you thought about, your mother had one, and you never seen it again. You know what you call that? A miracle. That's a miracle. Isn't it? You call your friends, like, it's a miracle. There couldn't be two of these things. Oh my God, it's a miracle. Okay? Very good. Let's say the exact same situation, except your mother had it, right? And when she broke it, your father got so mad he divorced her. Okay? I mean, this thing left trauma on you. This is amazing, right? You're having a great day. You're driving through North Carolina. You want to stop and get yourself a little drink. You stop at a thing. You get in there. And all of a sudden, exact same situation, that thing is sitting there on that table, right? And you freak out. And you call your friends and say, oh, my God, there's like evil in this world. I was doing so good. That's the work of the devil. What are the stars like? Okay? In other words, if you liked it, it's a miracle. If you didn't like it, it's the work of the devil. Even that you're doing by yourself. That which you call the worst thing that can happen to you, somebody else is getting all blown away. It's wonderful. Well, which is it? It's you. It's you. You are doing this. Your mind is doing this. It's like putting on glasses of a certain color. When you put those glasses on, the world magically turns that color, doesn't it? That's what happens when you hold these things inside of you. So you are conditioned. We're talking about conditional and unconditional. It starts with this. You are conditioned. You know what that word means? You're conditioned. You're conditioned by your past experiences. And because you're conditioned by those, it is natural. Natural doesn't mean good in this case, not like natural eating or organic or anything. It's just default, by default, okay? By default, if something happens outside, then when it comes in, hits the stuff that you were conditioned to be positive, you like it, and you're grateful. That is a natural gratitude that this happened to me, oh my God, but it's all happening to you. You're doing it. If on the other hand, it comes in and it hits something that is uncomfortable to you, you resent that. That's a terrible thing that has happened, and you don't feel gratitude. Are you kidding me? I don't feel gratitude. I feel anger. I feel resentment. I feel this is unacceptable. I'm never going to talk to him again. So you're conditioned by this stuff. The world has nothing to do with it. Don't you dare think that the world is purposely picking on you. Don't you dare think it rained because it's your birthday. It didn't rain because it's your birthday. It rained because of high-pressure zones and low-pressure zones and El Niños, La Niñas, and global warming and everything else. It just did it because of the meteorology of it. It just happened to be your birthday, right? It did it for the same meteorology yesterday and the day before, and it will do the same thing tomorrow. You're doing this. You are making this stuff personal because you took it personal in the past. And then you held on to this stuff. You did what the third Zen patriarch said. You set aside what you like from what you dislike. And the minute you did that, you're dead. You're dead. Because you're conditioned. You're a conditioned person. So now if the world unfolds a certain way, you either get in a good mood or a bad mood. Okay? And you're like a yo-yo. You go all over the place based upon these things. And you make your friends based on the ones that hit the positive things. You have enemies based on the ones that seem to always hit the other things, okay? And you are a conditional being. So your love is conditional based upon whether it hits the stuff right or wrong. Go on, let it hit right a whole bunch of times, then it'll start hitting the wrong side. When it's right, you want to get married. When it's wrong, you want to get divorced. Why else would you get divorced? Why would you get married? You understand that? Like one of my favorite things in relationships when people say, well, somebody said, well, why'd you break up with him? Or he says, why you break up? It's just such a nice answer. Watch this. It's just not working for me anymore. And that sounds very rational to you. You know what you just said? I have stuff inside. I like it when it feels positive inside because they're hitting the positive stuff. I don't like it when it feels negative inside because that reminds me of all the negative stuff. And when I first met him, there was a lot of hitting the positive stuff. And it's just not working out for me anymore. Wow, that conditional life's pretty nice, isn't it? Not for you or anybody else. So conditional, I'll stay with conditional gratitude. Conditional gratitude is not gratitude at all. It's the most selfish thing in the whole world. If it's happening the way I want it, I'm grateful. Anybody can be grateful for that. You understand that? That doesn't mean anything. All right? But if you want to wake up, pay attention to what's going on. Right? What's going on is you've been conditioned by your past experiences. Now, conditional well-being is you have to make it match your past experiences. It's not going to do it by itself, is it? A lot of work to make people be the way you want. A lot of work to make the job be the way you want. A lot of work to make yourself look like the way you want to look. You want to look the way you did when you were 25, when you're 63. It's beautiful. The alternative would just jump out of this mess. There's an alternative. There's an alternative, thank God. It's called unconditional well-being. It's not conditioned based on these past experiences. There is a state within you that is always okay. It's always okay. Listen to me. No one will believe me. It's always okay. No matter what is happening outside, no matter what has ever happened to you or will ever happen to you, you have reached a state of unconditional well-being. It is not conditioned upon you, upon your past experiences. It is a state inside that is always happy, always filled with love, always inspired, always uplifted, and I mean always. No more moods. Moods are not natural. You have moods because you have these impressions, these conditions inside. And if things hit the conditions right, you get turned on. If things hit the conditions wrong, you get turned off. If it's neither hitting neither, you get bored. And those are your three states. In unconditional well-being, which we'll talk about how to get there, that's what yoga is all about, that's what spirituality is all about. Unconditional well-being, there's none of that. Of course, there's little things that come in that are a little more enjoyable than something else. It's not that you don't have the past impressions. It's that you are not affected by them as much as a normal person. Well, how could you not be affected by it? Because you are sitting in a deeper place inside. So the essence of moving into an unconditional well-being state is to realize, yes, the third Zen patriarch is right. To set aside what you like from what you dislike is a disease of the mind. But how do I know that that's true? Because every example I gave you a moment ago, you're all shaking your head, yes. Yes, if somebody calls me up and says, you know what she did to the other people, right? All of a sudden you don't love her so much. You don't feel so open. How do you know that happened? How do you know you don't feel open? How do you know your mind closed? How do you know your heart hurts? How do you know you don't want to be there anymore? How do you know these things? Because you're in there. And it's a stupid question, isn't it? I'm in here. How do you know your heart hurts? You come here and you tell me, my boyfriend left, my girlfriend left, and my heart is killing me. It's been going on for 3 weeks. My heart hurts. I'm not going to ask you why, or what was the relationship like, or had you had previous relationships that didn't work out too good. I'm interested in a very one simple question. Your heart hurts? How do you know? How do you know your heart hurts? I wonder if you could answer me that. You told me it hurt. You must know. I don't know your heart hurts, right? How do you know your heart hurts? And at some point, you're going to get very mad at me. You're going to get frustrated. And you're going to look at me and you're going to yell. You're going to say, because I'm in here, stupid, and I feel it, I hear it, I see it. It's been that way. I'm in here, right? You are in there, are you not? Otherwise, you wouldn't know your thoughts said this. You wouldn't know you like that. You wouldn't know your heart hurts. You wouldn't know you're in a good mood. You wouldn't know you're in a bad mood. You didn't know what turned you on. You wouldn't know what turned you off, would you? Who is in there? Who is this consciousness, this awareness of being that is aware that there's a heart in here that feels like a rock? Who is this being in here who's aware there's a heart and it feels like it has wings? It does feel both ways, doesn't it? Okay? How do you know? That's the answer to the whole thing. You're in there. Conditional well-being is when you focus on the part of you that's conditional. It's so simple, it's ridiculous. When you, the awareness of being, focus on the part of you that's conditional, you're going to feel conditional well-being. Why? Because your mind is conditional. If your mind gets what it wants, woo. If it doesn't, go, right? And so is your heart too, right? There's not one of you that your heart opened when somebody said to you something that scared the hell out of you, that you didn't like, that offended you. When I say something that offends you tremendously, how's your heart doing? Okay? It's like basically the heart can open, the heart can close, conditioned upon its past experiences. And I used to tell the story. I like the examples because they get through. I haven't told this story for a long time, right? You're doing out with somebody. You really, really like them. I mean, it's like this is really getting close to marriage time, all right? Yes, that's what it is. And you're sitting there and you're kissing one time, and your eyes are closed, and you're melting, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And you just happen to open your eyes for a moment, right? And you see his eyes are open, right? His eyes are open, he's looking. You always felt that that's terrible, right? Somebody loves you, they close their eyes. Their eyes are open. What are they doing? Okay. Well, you think that's reasonable, but I'm telling you, what happened is as follows. When you were young, your mother told you, if you want to know if he really loves you, just see if his eyes are closed when you're kissing, all right? If his eyes are closed and just in melting, that's the true tale, the cell of how somebody feels, right? And so you open up, that's it for the relationship. That's it, man. Mommy told you. It's over, right? It's not that way for everybody. Because your mother told you, they say this stuff about closed eyes, but if somebody really loves you, and I know, I've seen it, they can't take their eyes off of you. They wouldn't for 1 second miss a moment of drinking of the beauty of your being. And so you would sit there and you open your eyes, and that's it for you, man. It's over. His eyes are over. He's looking at you, right? That's how strong the conditioning is. Does anybody understand? Even those intimate moments, those close things, they're not you. They're conditioned. All right. The difference that I'm talking about when you want to move into the unconditional is not choosing one of those. Well, which is right? Some people want to say, well, which is right? That the eyes should be open or closed. I will never answer you. Come to all my talks, you'll never hear a single thing that will help you make such a decision. I'm not interested. This. Did you notice that when you noticed that the eyes were open or closed, that it changed something inside of you? Did you notice that you were looking? Did you notice that your heart changed? Did you notice your mind said something? Yes or no? Did you notice? I'm interested in the one who noticed. I am not interested in what you noticed, period. Therefore, I'm not going to help you decide which of those two is, should I marry him or not? I couldn't care less if you marry him. I couldn't care less any of that. I care about, are you willing to realize you are in there and you are willing to notice what it's like in there? Because that's how you move into the unconditional. Why is that unconditional? Because the one who's watching the heart hurt and the one who's watching the heart fly open is the same one. There's only one of you in there. It's not there's a different consciousness in there noticing when you're happy and a different consciousness noticing when you're sad. Well, how do I know? I just listened to you talk. I used to be so happy. It was unbelievable. I'd wake up in the morning. I'd feel like there were birds singing. Now I'm so depressed. It's so dark, and it wasn't the daylight saving change. It's you in there, isn't it? You had the same experiences, didn't you? The ultimate that I ask people, and I've never, ever gotten a non-standard answer, is 3 weeks ago, you looked in the mirror. All right? 5 years ago, you looked in the mirror. 20 years ago, you looked in the mirror. When you looked in the mirror 20 years ago, did it look like what it looks now? The reflection that you're looking in the mirror? Of course not. Was it you looking? Whoa, I just want the intuitive answer, right? It was you looking, wasn't it? You looked at her when she was 5, didn't you? Okay, you looked at your heart when it hurt. You looked at your heart when it was... You are in there. There's just one of you in there. You have no age. You have no moods. You have no highs. You have no lows. You have no heart. You have no mind. Your consciousness, spirit, soul, essence, Atman, call it whatever you want. You, all right? You don't even have a gender. Consciousness has no body parts. How can it have a gender? It looks at things. It's aware of things, but it has no age. It has no gender. It's just pure awareness. That is what's meant by self. That is what's meant by Atman. That's what's meant by soul. That is what's meant by the essence of your being. That's what's meant by your Buddha nature. I don't care what tradition you go to. That's what they're trying to talk to you about. Don't think about it, because you'll be watching yourself think about it. Oh, I've thought a great deal about my Buddha nature. I think my Buddha nature is green. Mine's polka dotted. I know that for sure. And I'll tell you why. Let's discuss it. I'll give you the arguments why. And then somebody gives an argument over here, and you jump over there and say, no, because you missed this. You think someone's going to be right with that junk? Right? That's just mind. It's just mind. Who's watching the mind do this? Who's watching you do the argument and want to be right and prove yourself? You do watch that, don't you? You ever been in a situation where you just sit there watching and you just won't let it not be? You're just arguing and defending and doing all that. Yes or no? Okay. And there's no way you're stopping because you're invested in this and we're doing this. All right. How do you know? All right. You who's in there watching is something very holy. It's something very, very great. In fact, it is the only great thing there is. It is your soul. It is when the Bible says man was created in the image of God. That's Old Testament stuff. We're getting way back there, right? That's what they're talking about. Not that God has 2 arms and 2 legs. That's God was created in the image of man. It says man was created in the image of God, right? Consciousness, pure consciousness, presence, that which is. I am that I am. When Moses asked, what's your name? I am that I am. That's who you are, right? You're in there, aren't you? Okay. I am in here. How do you know? I ain't discussing it. You know you're in there, don't you? Hi. That's the essence. You who's in there are unconditional. I sat there and changed your age. I sat there and changed what your heart felt like. It's still the same you, isn't it? Do you understand that? You just realize this is what it's about. It's about you. You in there. Not what your mind is saying. Not what your heart is feeling. Not what your eyes are seeing. There's nothing wrong with those things. There's something to be aware of. All right? Makes life entertaining. You got a mind that entertains you. You have a heart that entertains you. You have eyes and ears and things. They entertain you tremendously, don't they? I'm sure I'd rather have those experiences than be lost in space somewhere and have nothing going on. Fine, but they're not who you are. You sit there and say, my mind is bothering me. Who said that? My is a possessive pronoun. See, even intuitively, your words are right. My hand hurts me. My mind is bothering me. My heart, oh my God, it's emanating so much pain. I have so much, hear me? Who's this I? I have so much fear. I have so much anxiety. I feel so jealous. Who does? It's a subject-object relationship. You're saying I'm in here and there's jealousy. Fine, that's okay. I'm in here and there's fear. Fine. I'm in here, there's happiness. Fine. Seen one, seen them all. It just comes and goes. Your thoughts come and go. Your emotions come and go. And the world comes and goes. Good. Mazel tov. Who are you that's aware of this? That is the unconditional one, and that is the only unconditional one. It is unconditional. Because no matter what is passing before it, it's the one who sees it. Do you understand that? If I hold up a bunch of cards in front of you and they're different colors with different shapes on them, there's no question you see different colors, you see different shapes. But it's the same you who saw it all, isn't it? That's unconditional. The cards are conditional, the colors are conditional, the shapes are conditional, but you're not, are you? You're unconditional. It is just the center, the core of your being, consciousness, awareness. Everything else is something you're aware of. A mind, good thoughts, bad thoughts, seen one, seen them all. Good emotions, bad emotions, seen one, seen them all. Good flow of world in front of you, not such a good flow of world in front of you, seen one, seen them all. Right? Has nothing to do with you. There's a line in the Gita. Most of you will never read the Gita, and that's fine. But it's very, very deep. Very, very deep teachings, the essence of yoga, where Arjuna is supposed to be the spiritual seeker, the devotee, and Krishna is, God talking. That's what you just think of it that way. Krishna represents God talking, and they're having a conversation. And at some point, Krishna tells Arjuna, his spiritual son, there's some really high states people can get to. People can get really evolved and enlightened and woo, right? He tells him that. It's yoga, so you can talk about high stuff. And Arjuna turns to Krishna and he says, wow, how will I know such a person if I meet him? One of these enlightened, high, gone bye-bye beings, all right? Walks he, sits he, talks he like any other man? Or does he levitate when he sits down? And the answer is so beautiful. It's the essence of spirituality, the essence of everything we're talking about. He says, Arjuna, you won't know him that way. He walks, he talks, he sits like any other man. If you would know him, in joys he's not overjoyed, in sorrows not oversorrowed. He lets goodness come when it will and when it must depart. He lets darkness come when it will and when it must depart. He walks as a sojourner, a stranger, in the midst of these changes, these qualities of nature. Just as all the rivers and streams of the earth pour into the ocean and the ocean does not overstep its bounds, so the world of sense pours into the yogi, and it leaves him as it found him, serene, content, at peace. Equanimity is yoga. In other words, you know your mind ain't going to do that. Your mind's going to react at least a little to what's coming in and to its past experiences. Psychology is standard stuff. Your heart is going to react also, all right? But not the self, not the seat of consciousness. If you are seated in the seat of self, you will notice that there's little changes in the mind, little changes in the emotion as the world flows by. You don't change. You're a centered, clear being. That all changes under you, right? You don't try to stop it. It's not that there's not a human. It's that you're not the human. You're watching a human. You're aware. It's called witness consciousness. You're aware of the human. That is unconditional. That is the only unconditional. The only unconditional is you. Now, what is unconditional gratitude? We know what conditional gratitude is. It almost smells. It's so putrid, it smells. All right? I'm grateful if you give me what I want. All right? It's not a single thing. Right? I want to know what unconditional gratitude looks like. Unconditional gratitude is when you're centered in the seat of self, and it just so happens that you are very beautiful. You're not just conscious. There's a nature to consciousness. That's your Buddha nature. And that nature happens to be ecstasy. In the East, we have a name for God, and it's the exact same name for self. It's called Satchitananda. Sat Chit Ananda. Eternal, conscious ecstasy. God is eternal, conscious ecstasy, and if you want some, come and get it. Because you are also. That's what it means that man is created in the image of God. That back here, where you live, that's a very beautiful place. It's not just beautiful because you don't have to hang out with the garbage. Right, that's nice enough. But when you do that, you're going to start to feel all this Shakti, all this spirit, all this chi rushing up inside of you, because that's where you went. You went back to the source of joy. You're not feeling joy because the mind said you could or because the heart opened up. When you feel love now, the mind has to agree. The mind has to say, yeah, he doesn't wear bow ties. I like them. Or I like bow ties. Look at him. He's wearing a bow tie. Wow, I like it a lot. Or he swears. No. Wow. It's up to you, right? It has to match what your mind wants, doesn't it? And if it matches what your mind wants, there's a chance that your heart will open. And if the person behaves in a way that you feel respected and however you want, then all of a sudden this love flows through there. Yoga doesn't care about that one single iota. Sorry. The yoga wants to know where that stuff come from. Where'd the love come from? Where'd the flow? It's a flow, isn't it? It's a flow that comes through your heart. What's its source? When you go back to the seat of self, you're returning to the source of love, and you will know it. You will know where I hang out now, the love, the beauty, the ecstasy you're feeling is exactly what made it through the mind conditionally and made it through the heart conditionally, and once in a while you feel some joy. No, come back to the source. That's why I say God is love. It's not some poetic statement. Literally, as you come back here, you're coming to the spiritual state of your being, the one that is a connection with the highest being, and that is where you will feel the love. That is the exact love that makes it through your heart and mind. But it will only do it conditionally. It'll only do it when your heart and mind say, okay, you can open now. Okay, he said, he bought you what you wanted. He proposed to you, and he had this little ring, right? And it was exactly what you dreamt of. I know he's right. He had the little ring. You will open if it matches you, then you will feel the love. You will close if it doesn't match you, and then you won't feel the love. And you are silly, silly human beings that are actually running after that. You're running after that which matches what opened you, and running away from that which doesn't match what opens you as you feel closes you. And you're like little marionettes just running around trying to find something and get something and keep something or get away from something, right? Where a great being, who you are, a great being says, I don't want to play that stupid conditional game. It's ridiculous. It doesn't work, period. You have to manipulate everything and everybody all around you to be the way you think you want it to be. Then you find you don't want it to be that way anyways. Come on. All right? And it keeps changing. It's a stupid game. Let me just come back to the source of, I want to feel love. Of course you want to feel love. Nobody's saying you don't want to feel love. That's not stupid. What's stupid is chasing conditional love. Chasing conditional well-being, chasing conditional happiness, conditional joy, conditional everything, when you are capable of unconditional. By returning to the seat of self, that is the source of joy, the source of love, the source of inspiration, the source of everything. You should be able to go to every single job, every single day that you go to, and can't wait to get there. And then when it's time to leave, you can't wait to get home. And then when it's time to go to bed, you can't wait to go to sleep. And then when you wake up, you can't wait to go to work. That's what every moment of your life should be like, no matter what job you have. I told you, don't sit there and think you have to find a certain job or a certain person that just matches you, because you're going to keep changing, and they're going to keep changing. You don't even know what you want anyways, because these impressions, nobody said they match. They took your blankie away too early, and it was blue. But when you got married, it was a blue theme, and it was a wonderful marriage. All right, well, which is it when you see blue? The lost blankie or the blue marriage? Who the heck knows? Depends on what you had for pizza last night. It can do anything. It'll just come up a different way. You hear me? There's no win in that game of playing that conditional game of what will open me and what will close me. No, come back to the unconditional state of well-being, which is the state of your source, the state of consciousness. And we'll talk about how to do that. It doesn't take long to know how to do it. You won't do it, but it's okay. It doesn't take long to know how to do it, but first you have to understand why you would want to. Do you see why you'd want to? Who the heck wants to play the conditional game? It's conditional, right? Oh my God, I love him so much. Come back tomorrow. Tell me how you're doing. There is no win in the game of conditional, period. But thank God there is another game. There's another game in town. It's called spirituality. And that is to return to the seat of your being. And instead of hanging out with the mind that's conditional, you just be aware that you have one of those, and it's kind of hard to hang out with, okay? And you have a conditional heart, don't you, that opens and closes. It's normal. It's normal. And literally, you could love somebody, then go out on another date and have some pizza that didn't sit well. And I'm telling you, for the rest of the day, you don't like him so much. Right, because the energy gets stuck in the stomach, and the stomach's upset. Because the stomach is upset, the heart can't open, the mind doesn't feel positive, and all of a sudden he don't look so good. Who's willing to admit it? Come on, let's be real, right? It doesn't take much. So basically, this conditional game, now you understand the conditional game. You are conditioned by your past experiences. Therefore, for you to try to get the heart open and the mind open is conditioned based on those experiences. And the world just kind of doesn't know about it. The world's not neither for you or against you. It's just going about its business. Don't get into that the world's for me or against me. Based on, no. The world belongs to science, belongs to meteorology and physics. And I'm a great scientist. I love the scientists. The world is the result of the quantum field emanating quarks and leptons and bosons. I would love it if you caught on. It has nothing to do with you. Don't do all that. Don't do that. Right? The very fact that you want it to means you're lost. The very fact that you want to think, if I do certain things, it'll come to me the way I want it. I can attract it to myself. Fine, have fun. It is way higher to just sit there and say, the world is unfolding everywhere, isn't it? It's unfolding everywhere. One of the places it's unfolding is in front of me. How is it that you don't have anything to do with all the rest of the places in the entire universe, but the one in front of you somehow belongs to you? That's so funny. Look to the right. It's not there anymore. Okay? The only meaningful teachings is establish yourself in the seat of self. Notice that the mind is conditional or dual. That's what dual means. It is conditional. Your heart is conditional, and the world hits that stuff. Do you want to play that game for the rest of your life? Parents did. Check them out. Grandparents did. Check them out. Right? Does it get better when they get older? That's really funny. Then you have the examples of great beings who took the time to establish their consciousness in the consciousness itself. So that no matter what you're doing, I don't care if you're talking to somebody, if you're at work, if you're whatever, cooking, I don't care what you're doing. You're always there. You don't have to try to be there. You are there. You're just not getting lost in the thoughts and emotions. You're never playing the game of me and I and mine and all that stuff that's going on there. Never. You're never playing that game. It may look like it because you're doing the dance. You got to be here in the world, but not of it. But you're never. You're here. You're watching what's going on. It's just a game. The lower self is a toy, right? You do never buy into it, period, right? Like sometimes people, this is my favorite, right? You've all been there. Where you say something, and you're going to do a little discussion with somebody, and maybe what you said, you're not so sure it's right anymore, right? You ever been done there? But you just sit there for the rest of the time trying to be right. Right? There's no way in the world you're sitting there saying, I'm wrong. I was wrong. Ever been there? Anybody? Anybody? Come on. Those are the times that matter. That's the question. Are you there? And are you noticing that you're having a little problem in there? And it's an ego problem. It's a problem that the mind wants to be right. The mind doesn't want to be wrong. It has a self-concept, doesn't it? Now, you have to reach the point where it is completely comfortable to you, and I mean completely comfortable, that at any time you notice that, you just sit there and say, I think I was wrong. You have to be centered enough to where you have no problem doing that. None. Ever. Okay? That means you haven't gotten caught in your lower self. You're able to maintain a seat of consciousness. Once you do that and you hang it out there enough, you're going to find out that it's nice up there. It's really nice up there. And down there is not nice, okay? You don't have to renounce it. You don't have to beat it up. You don't have to never do anything with it. But you don't live your life through your lower self. You don't live your life through what you're watching. You live your life through you who's watching. And that, like I said, is unconditional. So what is unconditional gratitude? I shouldn't even have to say anything about it. First unconditional gratitude is, thank God I'm not my mind. There, that's real gratitude. Thank God I am not the voice inside my head that's telling me to do things and complaining and so on. Thank God I'm not it. Otherwise, I'm stuck in that thing. Right? How's that for gratitude? Right? You don't have to fight with it. Just be grateful that I don't have to listen to the noise that my mind is saying. I'm grateful that I don't have to hang out with this personal heart that keeps opening and closing. I'm very grateful that I can feel love independent of whether my mind and my heart decide they want to. If my mind or my heart ever tries to close, I just do the opposite of every single thing they say to do. You understand that? It can be so beautiful if you're in a relationship with somebody and it gets a little awkward. You know what I'm talking about, right? And your heart starts to close, your mind starts to close. Just do everything you would have done as if you had just met and fell completely in love. Talk that way, act that way, behave that way, do that, right? And wait till you see how quick your heart opens back up. Don't do it, and wait till you see how long it stays closed. You can transcend your personal self by not believing it. It's just a stupid thing. I'm just conditioned to be that way. Somebody doesn't say what I like. You go to a party, you're with your spouse. You say something, and people are disagreeing with you. And they ask your spouse, well, what do you think? And she says, I think he's wrong. I think you guys are making sense. Why don't you sit there and decide, I can handle that. I don't want to close over that. You hear me? And make yourself say, gee, I understand why you said what you said, right? That made a lot of sense. I'm glad you helped me pull away from where I was hanging out because I was getting stuck there. Oh, my God, who's willing to say that when everything you're feeling is, how could you have done that? Why didn't you support me? You married me. Anybody listening? As I said, I can tell you easily how to get out of this mess. You won't do it, all right? But it's not hard to understand. If you're going to hang out with the personal part of your being, you're going to be affected by the personal part of your being. If you decide, I'm not the personal part of my being, I'm watching the personal part of my being, aren't I? It's not enough to just be witness consciousness. You have to be who you are. You live it. And so anything that pulls on you that wouldn't let you be that high, work with it. Work with it. Don't do what it says. I used to do the opposite of every single thing he said. I played opposite day every single day. I don't do it now. Obviously, you can't do that all the time. That's when people misunderstand the surrender experiment, right? Oh, you always say yes. No, you don't always say yes. You don't always say no. But if he's sitting there and I don't want to do this, and I see him doing that, I ain't doing what he says ever. You have to break the habit of yourself. Otherwise, it's very tenacious, isn't it? It holds on to you. As you do that, you will feel love. You will feel joy. You will feel high. And you will feel God. Eventually, you won't believe in God. Let's say, do you believe you have a hand? That's ridiculous. I know I have a hand. Do you believe you're in there? You know you're in there. Well, that's how you're going to know God. Period. There will not be any question. There will be no mind. I would say no question in your mind. It has nothing to do with your mind. It has to do with direct experience inside of feeling this upward flow of love and Shakti and spirit pulling you up into it, calling you to it. And you feel God win all the time. It's like you feel your mind all the time now. Instead, you feel the divine presence pulling you up into it. Why? Because that's your connection. That's your connection. The self is connected to the divine. That's what Christ taught you. That's what Buddha taught you. That's all of them taught you. It's very simple stuff. So the question is, are you willing to stop staring and hanging out with the conditional part of your being? And that was mild. Or I should really have said, are you willing to cease to devote every moment of your life to the conditional part of your being? Because that's what you're doing. You're trying to get everything you want and avoid everything you don't want with all your effort. You need to decide, I don't want to hang out with that. I want to hang out with this. I want to know who I am. So self-realization. And I want to hang out with that. Well, you pay a price. What? You must die to be reborn. So basically, you get to a point where you realize unconditional gratitude, I have to close with that, is being grateful, like we talked about today. At that point, you're grateful for everything. You're grateful you don't have to listen to the stupid mind. You're grateful you don't have to be conditional upon the heart. You're grateful that you're able to have relationships that are healthy and long-lasting because you can let go of the part of you that would have ruined them. Do you understand that? Not because somebody else is a certain way, but because you're not doing that. You're not playing that game that somebody says something you don't like. Now you don't like them anymore, right? You're letting go of that part of yourself. It's a constant letting go. And then you'll start to realize you feel this joy inside. Well, that's something to be grateful for. When do you start feeling so much upward rush of Shakti and Chi that at all times you're high? You're just high. It's just blowing you away. Gee, I think I'd be grateful for that. I'd be grateful for the beauty that you found inside yourself. And ultimately, you're going to find out that the source of that is this thing they call God. You don't have to give a name to it. It comes from somewheres. It comes from the infinite. And you start being grateful for that. And that's the highest gratitude, is gratitude for creation. Gratitude for, like I talked about today, like, you got a body. Where'd you get it? I don't know. It grew from 1 foot to 6. Pretty neat, isn't it? It was the last time you said thank you. You got a kidney. You got a kidney that's secreting. You got a liver. You got a thing. You got an endocrine system. You got white blood. Oh, my God. Look at all the stuff you got. When was the last time you said thank you? It's terrible the way we are. All we care about is what we want and what we don't want. Gratitude, when you let go of what you want and what you don't want, all right, then you start to feel gratitude for what is. You feel gratitude that there's a sun 93 million miles away that's so hot that it burns you. That's a pretty hot fire. And it warms you and it makes things grow. And wow, it's nice to have a star out there, isn't it? And you start feeling gratitude for everything. And you look at the stars at night, you look up there, and you feel gratitude that you realize there's not a single problem that you have that makes any difference. You're causing yourself this problem. My God, you're one star, one piece of dirt spinning around one star, of which there's 300 billion in your galaxy, and there are 2 trillion galaxies. And you have a problem? You don't have any problems. It's just you're spinning around, having fun. Okay? And you start feeling gratitude for every single moment of every single second of your existence. That's unconditional well-being. That's unconditional gratitude. I'm telling you, the only place you're finding that is back here, is when you establish yourself in the self. And that's not, I'm going to find myself. No, just stop staring at what's not yourself. And you know it's not yourself. I told you, because your words tell you. God, my mind's driving me crazy. Then don't watch it. The TV, oh my God, there's a Stephen King movie on, it's freaking me out. Turn it off. Nobody said you have to watch the darn thing, did they? Nobody said you had to watch that monkey crazy mind with all its complaints and issues. All right? You need to learn to do this. Learn to establish yourself in your higher self. Not suppression, not fighting, not renouncing. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, are you in there? Be in there. Constantly remind yourself, I am back here watching. If she's upset, I'm watching her be upset. It's fine that she could be upset. Just watch her be upset. She's getting uptight. She's anxious. People come to me, oh, I have such anxiety. How do you know? I don't understand. How do you know you have anxiety? Watch, notice, relax. And I'm telling you, it'll all go away. If you practice, meditate, by all means, mantra, do whatever you need to do to stay back there. But then the rest is going to fall away. You'll still be married. You'll still be doing what you're doing. You'll still go to work. But boy, it won't be because your lower self is telling you to or not to. It'll be because you're in harmony with the universe and you'll be driven by the love and joy that you feel inside. It'll all be inspiration. No more decisions. No more problems. Period. Doesn't mean there aren't things unfolding that other people would call problems, right? To you, they're just fun experiences. like a good chess game. You know, a chess game you win every time, right? Life is a phenomenal challenge. So I hope you understand. I told you everything has a conditional, unconditional. I tagged it to unconditional and conditional gratitude, but what I really showed you is where conditional comes from and where unconditional comes from, didn't I? That's where unconditional comes from. It's the only unconditional thing there is in the universe. It is the thing that's unchanging. You. Go there. Just that is where you want to be. And from there, it's nothing but beauty. It's nothing but grace, nothing but greatness. Nothing but gratitude. Jagrata.